Introduction. It's always a pleasure to be on this platform and talk to you all and share my experiences, my knowledge, whatever I know about many different topics. And are excited to know or learn the different aspects or the different ways at how one can look at mental health. And so, we are going to use this folk today as a first line of defense against depression. So let's put the right things, that is this, at the end of this fork so that we can defeat the depression. I am a homeopathic doctor. I have done my master's in psychiatry, diploma in counseling, psychology, and so on. I have a background of psychology, but nutrition has been a very important part in my life. And I used to think that I'm eating right, doing the right things, and I will never fall sick. But fortunately, I was wrong. I use this word fortunately because otherwise, I wouldn't be here sharing my journey, my experience with you all today. So, I let me even take you back 5 years or rewind you 5 years back into my life. That was around 2014 when I used to feel low moods on and off. And it was in 2015 when there was some trigger in my life, some changes in circumstances in my life, that it felt as if someone has removed air from my tires and my mood completely collapsed. It was like this black cloud hovering over my head. You can see in this picture. It was depression. It's very common. One in third person has this condition. You you can write in the chat box if you know somebody of depression. It can be either you, your friend, your relative, your neighbor. I'm sure everybody will know somebody having this health problem, mental health problem. And I'll tell you, I'll just take you back to my life. When it comes to explaining how I used to feel before, it's very difficult for me because I have moved out of that self. But I used to feel very like not wanting to do anything in life, just wanted to lie down, not want to face the reality, not want to get up in the morning. Even brushing my teeth was like a big task. And carrying forward the day, like seeing my patients or anything, was like a big task. I wanted to sleep. It was like an escape against all the realities of life. Or I would want to just eat a lot of food. It was again an escape or a defense against the pain which I was feeling inside me. I used to have a lot of chocolate and chocolate cake, and I would feel that it will help me feel good. Or I would eat in order to enjoy myself. It would definitely injure me, but it would not take away the pain. Maybe it would help for a moment, but not for a long time. I used to feel a lot of anxiety. Right now, to talk over here, there is some anxiety. But if that time I had to talk like this to people or even to my clients, I would be trembling inside me. I used to always feel that I'm a piece of shit. My self confidence was shaken, was crushed down. If somebody would say or criticize something about me, it would hurt me, torture me, pain me. I would feel that no one likes me, no one loves me. I'm a piece of shit. Everyone has abandoned me, and a lot of confusion, indecisiveness. I was a total mess in my head. I was not able to have healthy relationships with people. Like, even to sit on the dining table and to talk to people was not possible for me. I didn't want to connect with people. Nothing was helping me. I was taking homeopathy. Being a doctor, it's very difficult to help my own self. So I went to other doctors, other psychiatrists, and I took antidepressants for a long period of time, 6 months. And it was not helping. It was actually making me feel worse. Like, it was making me feel like a zombie. I was numb, caged in a cage, not able to react or respond. So at the end, I decided to give up on all the medicines and everything. I was frustrated. And at that point in my life, I was working in this homeopathic academy where they were introducing us to this whole food plant based lifestyle. Now my antennas were up because it was something related to health, related to nutrition. And I saw that it was helping patients reverse a lot of their health problems, physical health problems like diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, even cancers. So I thought that why not try it for my patients? Like, I believe in holism, using a holistic approach in healing. So why not add in along with my homeopathy to help patients? But now one thing came to my mind was, I will tell my patients, do this, do that. But will they listen to me? Because if I have not done it myself, will I be able to tell them with that conviction? Like they will have some questions in their mind, some doubts, some challenges, which I'll not be able to answer them or guide them if I have not done it myself. So I thought that let me try on myself. Now remember, my idea at that time was not to help any of my health problems, neither my mental health problems. I just wanted to practice what I preach. So, so I thought of taking it up. And I didn't even hope that it'll change something in my life or in my body. And now to change a diet when you're sick is very difficult. Even when you're healthy, like even want to, if you want to start with a healthy lifestyle when you're already like not having any health problems, is a big task to change habits. But when you're depressed, when you resort to those foods as as an escape to the reality, to the real pain which you go through, it's very difficult. So I took baby steps. I had short term goals. Like initially, I was a flexitarian. I had first stopped all the animal based products. And only by doing that, I could see that within like no 6 months or within 5, 6 months, I could see that the cloud above my head lifting away. And the depression was sweeping out of my system. I was no longer feeling those blue days. And the best part of it, I had a very major symptom of depression, and that was suicidal thoughts and even suicidal ideations, even attempts. Like I used to take strips of sleeping pills just to end myself, because I would feel that I don't want to live any longer and no one likes me. So I would take them, but it would just make me sleep and sleep and sleep and take away the pain. So when I changed my lifestyle, the first symptom going away was that suicidal ideas or the suicidal attempts. It completely went away. As I said, I can't relate to that self of mine because I have moved so much out of it. Even when to talk to you all, I had to gather a lot of thoughts in my head. How do I used to feel? I had to gather all that and tell. So there was a smile which was coming back on my face. Like now I was able to do all my tasks with full enthusiasm. Like I was obsessed, positively obsessed to do things, this, that. I wanted to do a lot of things. I started feeling lighter, lighter in my mind, lighter in my body. Like I was feeling all the baggages which I was carrying was like left far away somewhere. I started connecting to people. I started building healthy relationships. Now I wanted to sit on the dining table and talk to people. I was feeling more brighter. People would say that you're looking better, you're looking chirpier, you're looking happier, there's a glow on your face. People even said that you look younger than your age. I started living in the moment, experiencing life as it comes, without any grudges or cribbing. Felt more confident to talk to people, to my patients, to the anxiety, the restlessness. I would just pace around if I had to give a talk like this. I would get cramps in my stomach. I would go to the washroom. All of that went away. I was feeling more energetic. Now, we were on a family vacation, and every day we would go for sightseeing. And at the end of the day, everybody would be tired, but I would be bouncing with energy. And I would say, let's do this, let's do that. And they were like, where do you get so much of energy? It's as if there's a spring below your feet. And I would say it's the plant power. I still continue saying that I'm a plant powered girl. So there was a hope in my dark days, in my hopeless life. There was some color which was coming, there was colors coming out in the darkness. It was like this. So this is a recent picture. Now I don't have to tell you which is the recent picture, because that glow, that happiness is seen on my face in the recent picture. So by 2017, I was completely restored. The circumstances in my life did not change, mind you, but my accommodation to it, my acceptance to it, the way I look at those circumstances and situations changed a lot. I was restored mentally, but even physically, there were some changes in me. I would get chronic headaches. My mother would say, you should meet a neurologist and start taking some migraine medicines. But when I went, because I would get every 1 and 2, 3 days, and there would be triggers like sun or hunger or stress. And when I went plant based or in this lifestyle, I didn't realize that I have stopped getting headaches. My skin used to be very bad. There used to be acne, and this picture it's not so visible in the previous picture, but I would have a very bad skin, and I started. It took a lot of time for my skin to improve, and then gradually I started enjoying a better skin. I would have gut issues, like I would be badly constipated, or I would get acidity because of certain foods. Now, that constipation would actually make me irritable and cranky. There is a relationship between gut and the brain, and that I will talk about in some time. So that would make me cranky and irritable. And so when I went this way, I used to enjoy my motions. Like it would be very smooth. I used to feel very light in my stomach and in my body. I would even have some kind of PCOD symptom, not PCOD, but PMS symptoms. Like before my periods, I would be very irritable, very cranky. I would get cramps, and the house would know that that this is that month, the time of the month where I'm going to throw a tantrum, because every cycle there would be a tantrum. That completely disappeared. The pain completely disappeared. I don't suffer all of that. So there was a mental aspect, the physical aspect, and even spiritually, there was something known as compassion which came inside me. Now, compassion is very important when you have to love yourself, but compassion towards animals. I was never an animal person, but I started loving animals. I started feeling their pain. Now, when I see some cruelty, some harm to the animal, it affects me, it hurts me, and I really get tears in my eyes. So I started developing a positive relationship with healthy food. And those experiences with food, how food affects my mind, my body, stayed with me. And then I could empathize with all those patients that were coming to me for help. There is a pandemic of COVID-19, but the pandemic of COVID-19 has aggravated the epidemic of anxiety, depression, and fear in our minds. There is a lot of fun and entertainment in this era, in this generation. Ever before, we had so much of fun. But the rate at which there is depression, anxiety, fear, and all the mental problems is also much more than ever before we had in the human history. Why so? Can you tell me in the chat box, when you go to the conventional doctor for your health problems, for your like for your depression or for your diabetes, do you really get better? I feel there is, you keep taking medicines, and there is either your medicines increase, your disease increase, but those visits to the doctor don't stop until unless you get frustrated like me and stop going to the doctor. So what happens is, even if you feel better in the treatment, it is to a certain extent. It doesn't completely reverse you. Like for example, if you have a sore throat and you will go to the doctor will give you antibiotics. Now the antibiotics will help you relieve that sore throat, but it'll help you for a moment, but the root cause, that is the low immunity, will not be addressed. Therefore you will keep getting those episodes of sore throat. Or even if you go to your psychiatrist, the psychiatrist will give you antidepressants. It'll help you feel better for some amount of time, but you become dependent on it, and then it stops showing its effect on you. So because what is happening over here with doctors or with us is, we are not addressing the cause of the illnesses, and we are just there are a lot of causes for for mental health or physical health problems. And the mind and the body is definitely firstly connected. So whatever you eat just doesn't affect the part of the body that is below the neck, but it affects the part of the body above the neck also. So when you go to the doctor will find the causes around your problem. But the main cause which is causing that problem is not addressed. And you know, I'm not saying that nutrition is the only cause for all the health and physical and mental health problems. It's a disclaimer. But nutrition is one of the causes. What we put at the end of this fork is actually in our hands. We can modify our diets. We cannot do anything about other circumstances, other situations, but we can definitely do something about what is there at the end of the fork. Because and in medical schools we are not taught about nutrition. It is just a small chapter in one of the subjects, and that much low power we have over nutrition. And so the doctors, including me, I also thought that I'm eating right, doing right things, but we definitely don't address that. Because what we eat, we are made up of what we eat. We are what we eat. What we eat not just affects, as I said, the part of the body that is below our neck, but it also affects our brains. Like if we have a diet for diabetes, for blood pressure, why not have a diet for your mental health issues like depression or anxiety? Like why not the psychiatrist start asking you, what did you have for breakfast, what was on your dinner plate, what was on your lunch plate? It's very important, don't you think so? And as someone said, that what you find at the end of your fork is more powerful than anything you'll find at the bottom of the pill bottle. And so today I would like to spread this message of food and mood amongst you. Now, when I was going through the statistics of depression, I came across that India is number one when it comes to depressed countries in the world. I was very shocked and alarmed. And it's more common, depression is more common in women than in men. It's the number one cause of global disability. It's a number one contributor to obesity, and obesity is something which is related to it's a lifestyle disease, and lifestyle illnesses like obesity is related to mental health problem. And it's the number one contributor for your suicidal deaths. So it is very shocking to know all these statistics. Now, how do you diagnose depression? When you go to the I had some background of psychology and psychiatry, so I was able to understand. I took some physical assessments, and I concluded that, I mean, the doctors concluded that yes, I have depression. But if you want to understand, it's not just having a low mood. There is some diagnostic criteria which is known as DSM, which the psychiatrist, the psychologist uses. So there's major episode, subthreshold, and non-depressed episode. So this major depressive episode, 5 or more below symptoms should be present. And out of that, depressed mood and loss of interest is very important. Subthreshold, 2 or more symptoms, and may or may not have the key symptoms, that is depressed mood or loss of interest, and non-depressed is no symptoms. Now let's go briefly to the symptoms. Depressed mood, loss of interest, either you gain a lot of weight or lose weight, either you eat a lot or don't eat, either you sleep a lot or don't sleep, means it's either an extreme. Then there's psychomotor agitation or retardation, means your responses to the environment are either very slowed down or very aggravated, very fast. You pace around. I used to pace around, or I used to not respond to what people would ask me. People would say you're lost in space. There's fatigue, loss of energy, feeling of worthlessness or excessive or inappropriate guilt, diminished ability to think or concentrate, or confusion, recurrent thoughts of death, just brooding about depression, brooding about what bad happened, and I want to end myself, I want to kill myself, and searching on the internet different ways to do that. So there is a connection between food and mood. Does anyone want to comment on this? That have you ever felt that high when you have that piece of chocolate cake and you feel so nice, amazing, but immediately after some time that high fades away and you start feeling cranky, irritable, not good about yourself, and you again want to resort to something else in food or something else in life to get that happiness? I think everyone must have experienced the highs and lows, what the junk, the processed, the unhealthy food causes. And it is true. And the food and the mood has a connection. Our brains are a highly metabolic organ. It's functioning 24/7. Even in the sleep, it's functioning, and it controls the different thought system, different respiratory system, our dreams, and a lot of things. It's a complex thing. Now, if you have an expensive car, you will obviously check the manual of the car and see what kind of a fuel is to be put in the car. You will never put petrol in a diesel car or diesel in a petrol car. Our minds and bodies are even expensive than those cars. So why do we not choose the right fuel for it? Why do we just dump in something that makes it work for a moment, but at the end crashes the car? And when we have the right nutrition, it helps in the formation of different neurotransmitters in the brain, different chemicals which help in making us feel good, making us get stability in our life, releases on the anxieties and fears. Now, when I say that you shouldn't eat this or you shouldn't eat that, you will be like, okay, you will take it with a pinch of salt. But when you understand certain dysregulation, the biological dysregulation, where these wrong foods cause in our body, you will, at least for me, when I understand why not to have this food, I will stay away from that food. So there are certain biological dysregulation with the wrong foods. The first and the foremost is inflammation. Now, to understand inflammation, we have to understand the brain and the gut communication. A lot of people are talking about this brain gut connect, and you must have heard about it. There is a constant talk between the gut and the brain. 90% of the messages from the gut go to the brain, and 10% of the messages from the brain go to the gut. You must have experienced this. You must have felt some jittery in the stomach, or butterflies in the stomach, or you must have said, I have a gut feeling. Yes or no in the chat box, please. We are what we eat is true, but we are what we absorb is also true. Because in the gut, there is this good hormone serotonin which is produced. 90% of the serotonin is produced in the gut, and only 10% is produced by the brain. 40% of dopamine is produced by the gut. Even physiologically and anatomically, the gut and the brain are in constant communication through the vagus nerve. So, in the gut, there are some good bacteria and some bad bacteria. Now, the good bacteria need fiber as its food, it's the prebiotic food. And where you get this fiber from? All the plant based foods. None of the animal foods give you this fiber. Now, why does good bacteria need fiber? Because when it feeds on fiber, a lot of energy is generated. And in this energy helps in the formation of feel good hormones, that is serotonin. Now, we need more of good bacteria than the bad bacteria because we want more of serotonin. Now, the bad bacteria feed on all the food which you can see on the screen, all the junk, refined, processed food, the unhealthy food. And it causes irritation in the gut, and the gut starts to become leaky. Leaky means all the wrong things go inside the blood, and all the good things go out in the form of poop. When the wrong things enter in the blood, there is immunity inside our blood. It sees it as a threat and it starts to react. It sees something foreign and starts to produce antibodies. It starts to react. And when it reacts, it causes inflammation all throughout the body. Now, the brain doesn't escape this inflammation. The brain also gets affected, and all the bad things which are in the blood get inside the brain. And when it gets inside the brain, it causes all the negative emotions, the negative thought, because it upsets the entire chemical balance in the brain. Now, the second biological dysregulation caused by the wrong foods is the oxidative stress. Now, you must have heard about this in a lot of talks. But now it's very complicated. It looks complicated, but let me explain you in a very simple version. In a healthy cells, in the healthy body, all cells are very stable. But when you have the wrong food or exposed to the wrong kind of lifestyle, some cells lose its stability, means lose an electron, like something like physics. They lose the electron, they become unstable. Now they are unstable, so they're wanting to seek that electron from the healthy stable cells, and in that process damage the healthy stable cells, and that process is known as oxidative stress. Now God has made this, like, nature is always trying to prevent damage. Our body is always wanting to heal, so there are antioxidants which prevent these healthy cells from damage by giving that electron which the unstable cells are seeking for. So this antioxidant, like a hero, like a fire extinguisher, will give the unstable cells the free electron so that it doesn't snatches away from the healthy cells. Now, where do you get this antioxidants is a big question. You get it from all the plant-based foods. You don't get from any kind of supplements. None of the animal-based foods you get this antioxidant. And therefore, you should eat different colors of fruits and vegetables, because all these different colors represent the different antioxidants in them. And that is why they say eat 5 to 7 veggies or 5 to 7 different colorful fruits and veggies in a day. You should paint your plate with different colors of rainbow, or you should just eat a rainbow. The third biological dysregulation is the HPA axis dysfunction. It is not complicated, don't worry. HPA means there is hypothalamus pituitary axis, cortical axis. Now, the brain, hypothalamus and pituitary is something in the brain. Now, when you're acutely stressed, like some incident in your life has happened, or you have binged on something wrong, like just one fine day you eat normally healthy, but one fine day you had something wrong. So that the brain will send signal to the different organs of the body, your kidneys, your different organs, that now produce stress hormone, and produces those stress hormones for a moment, and then there is a negative feedback which goes and tells the brain, yeah, okay, now stress is over, we don't need to produce more stress hormone. But when you continuously do wrong things to your body, wrong lifestyle, wrong eating, wrong emotion, this stress hormone continues to be produced in the body, because the brain continuously signals that, oh, there is stress coming, so please produce these hormones. So the negative feedback, the red arrow which you see in the picture, stops working. And this cortisol and adrenaline, which are stress hormone, causes affects the different systems of the body, like diabetes, blood pressure, and even the mood. It crashes the mood, causes depression, it decreases the serotonin. So, what are the wrong foods? What foods one should avoid in order to stay away from these biological dysregulation? The first and the foremost is sugar. Now, everybody in the chat box, please raise your hands if you have felt that sugar really makes you feel, or sweet things really make you feel good. I used to binge on a lot of sweet things and sugar to feel good. And it's but natural, because sweet things help release those good hormones in the body. Now, but we resort to all the wrong kinds of sweet, like we take sugar and all these sweeteners or all these sweet processed things which you see in the picture, and that has no fiber, no nutrition. So what it does, it raises the blood sugar very high, and to metabolize that high sugar, the insulin comes in the picture, and suddenly all the sugar is metabolized, there is no sugar in the system. Now the brain needs a steady supply of sugar, so the brain goes panic, and it will cause release of some stress hormones, so that those stress hormones can get sugar from different storage sites of the body into the bloodstream, so that the brain gets a steady supply of sugar. So basically, sugar actually increases your cortisol, and therefore we should have natural sweeteners which have fiber, which doesn't let that sugar spike. It causes sustained release of sugar in the blood, so that the brain also gets a sustained supply of sugar. Sugar is very inflammatory, it irritates the gut. Sugar is very addictive. It's as addictive as cocaine. You must have read about this. It acts on those areas of the brain, those reward areas. And so when you keep having sugar, it reinforces the reward mechanism. Studies were done on rats. Rats were given sugar and cocaine both for a long period of time. After some time, they were only asked to choose between sugar and cocaine. Now, rats, what did they select? They selected sugar, because sugar is really 9 or 10 times addictive than cocaine. Then sugar also causes starvation of the brain. So when the body has to digest that, it is plain chemical basically. So in order to digest that, a lot of vitamins from the body are utilized in digesting that sugar. A lot of B vitamins are used up, and therefore sugar actually depletes the body of all the nutrition, the digestion of sugar. Sugar causes, it's a chemical, so it increases the oxidative stress which the brain goes through. And our brain is very metabolic, so a lot of oxidative stress happens in the body, in the brain. So sugar causes depression, sugar causes diabetes, sugar even causes dementia, because it stops the production of new nerve cells in the brain. So you will then say, I will opt for all these artificial sweeteners, like they are doing its work and they say it's healthy, it's sugar free. Now remember, the Diet Coke, the Diet Pepsi, the Equal, the Splenda, they may look healthy, but it has something known as aspartame, which blocks the production of serotonin, the feel good hormone. it also is a chemical. They are basically chemicals and nothing else. So it increases the oxidative stress the brain goes through. Then it causes irritation of the gut microbiome because it is again a chemical, and therefore the good bacteria goes down and the bad bacteria rises because of all these artificial sweeteners. So what to do? Opt for natural sweeteners, as I said, because these papayas or mangoes or bananas or all of the natural sweeteners have fiber with it. You cannot overdo on it, firstly, and secondly, it causes a sustained release of energy in the body, and therefore the brain gets a sustained release of sustained energy. Now, if you have sugarcane juice, you will be overdoing it. You can have 2 glasses, 3 glasses, but you cannot overdo on sugarcane. If you just have the sugarcane, like one stick maximum or half stick, I would say, not more than that. All these natural sweeteners, dates, raisins, figs, apricots, they have fiber and nutrients, which in fact does good to the body. I make my desserts with all these natural sweeteners because I'm a dessert person, trust me. There's always some chocolate in the fridge, and you can check out the Sharan website for the chocolate cake recipe or the fudge recipe, the raw chocolate cake recipe. It's easiest and the best. The cookies, when I have my herbal tea, I want a cookie with it, and I make my cookies without oil, without sugar, without anything refined. All the different ice creams can be enjoyed. Now this photo looks really unappealing. It doesn't appeal to me. It gives me the junk food blue. Now this is something known as simple carbs. There is something known as complex carbs and simple carbs. Complex carb is something which is gourmet as it is in nature without any refining or processing it. And simple carbs is something which is refined and processed. You can see the picture for simple carb and the complex carb picture. Now, when you refine it, like if you have a whole grain and you refine it, the bran and the germ is removed and only the endosperm is retained, so that some amount of protein and carbs are there. But all the nutrition, all the fiber, which helps in disease reversal, which helps in a lot of your different functions of the body, doesn't stay with it. So, what it does, it acts like simple sugar, like white sugar. It will cause immediately a spike in the sugar, and insulin will metabolize it, and suddenly there will be no sugar, there will be a crash. So, the cortisol comes in the picture because of all the junk and the processed food. It also causes release of dopamine. Now dopamine is again a feel good chemical. Now when we have all these things, it artificially increases the dopamine in our body, and when we continue having 1 2 3 times, the body gets a signal that I don't now need to produce dopamine. I'm getting artificially from all these foods. So the body stops producing dopamine, and then you have to rely on all these foods for it, and it will just crash your mood. You'll have it for a moment and it'll raise, and again it goes down. It will not be steady in the blood. And therefore, it causes addiction, and therefore, all these foods are very addictive. Then again, all of this is refined and it feeds the bad bacteria of our gut, and it causes irritation and inflammation in the gut. Now you will say that carbs, I will never eat them. But let me tell you, carbs are very essential for your brain function. It's required for your stability, for your grounding. But you choose the right carbs. Choose the complex carb versus the simple carbs, because when the tryptophan, which is a protein, when it goes inside the brain, it forms serotonin, the feel good hormone or chemical. Now the tryptophan won't go inside the brain if it doesn't have a carbohydrate to accompany with it. It needs a complex carbohydrate to accompany, and then only it goes inside the brain and forms serotonin. So now do you know why carbs are so important for your mental health? So I enjoy my carbs. Like I really crave carbs a lot many times, and I enjoy my rice. It's not the white rice, but the brown rice or red rice or black rice, which I enjoy. Then you cannot, like a lot of people crave bread, and it's not wrong to have bread, but what kind of bread you're having is very important. There are a lot of white breads available, and there are a lot of wheat, like brown breads available, which claim to be healthy. But when you look at the ingredient list, it's mainly the white flour in it, even in the brown bread. So opt for healthy bread. Make breads at home, or take it from someone who makes healthy breads. Instead of white rice poha, brown rice poha or red rice poha. Now I follow a monkey rule when it comes to peeling my fruits and vegetables. Like I will peel only those and fruits and vegetables for which I have the fingers or the nails or the natural equipments to peel it. Like, I will peel a banana because I can peel it with my nails and fingers. I will never peel a carrot. I will never peel a tomato or beetroot, or but I will peel onion. So, because the maximum nutrition is under the skin or in the skin, the fiber is in the skin, and we need all of that so that we get a steady supply of sugar, steady supply of energy, and the cortisol doesn't come in picture. Now, gluten is a glue-like substance which is present in wheat, barley, and rye. I was off gluten for a very long period of time because I felt that it was helping me staying off gluten. Then, when I started having gluten on and off, I was seeing that I was having a lot of gut issues, indigestion, bloating, constipation, and that would not make me feel good mentally. So, the gluten definitely has a relationship to how you feel. People who are off gluten have high levels of serotonin as compared to people who are on gluten. And there are two types of gluten sensitivity. One is the celiac and one is the non-celiac. In the celiac gluten sensitivity, you will get all the intestinal symptoms. It's Shalini Goenka from our SHARAN team who talks about IBS, that's a celiac gluten sensitivity, which she suffers from, and which she how she recovered from it. And the non-celiac one has a lot of mood symptoms, some abdominal symptoms, or a lot of joint pains and skin problems and brain fog and depression. So there is a connection because the gluten is also very inflammatory. It actually causes stickiness, and it sticks to the gut. It irritates and inflames the gut. It it causes the release of cortisol because it doesn't cause a sustained release of sugar or the energy in our body. Then it causes release of exorphins which block the endorphins, the feel good hormone. Since it irritates the gut, there is malabsorption, means all the good things which has to go inside the blood enters in the poop, and all the bad things enter in the blood, and they go in the brain and affect our brain and cause nutritional deficiencies which affect our brain. So opt for different millets. Rose from our Sharan team does a lot of millet series. You should learn a lot of millet recipes from her. Or you can opt for pseudo cereals, or even plain rice, different kinds of brown, black, red rice, or even simple oats. Now, in oats, don't opt for the quick instant cooking oats, but opt for rolled oats or steel cut oats, which are whole. Now, oils. Now, oils are actually not even food. They are distorted to such an extent that it's something which is chemical. And oils actually clog our arteries. And clogged arteries are again related to depression. Because when the arteries are clogged, the blood supply doesn't happen properly to the brain. The blood doesn't go properly inside the arteries. It's narrowed, and therefore the brain gets affected because it doesn't get the nutrition and oxygen and the blood whatever it needs. Now, in oils, there is something known as omega 6 and omega 3. Means in the fat categories, there are omega 6 fatty acids and omega 3 fatty acids. All the omega 6 fatty acids are present in all the refined and all the unclean oils. And omega 3 is present in the clean fats like your walnuts, your chia seeds, your flax seeds. All the natural kind of fats are omega 3. Now, omega 6, if it is more than the omega 3, there will be inflammation in the body because omega 3 triggers inflammation in the body. Sorry, omega 6, if it is more, then it triggers inflammation in the body. And omega 3, if it is more, it is good because it helps in the formation of serotonin, the feel good hormone. And when experiments were done on rats were given soy oil. Now that soy oil got incorporated in the brain cells of the rats. This is because our brains is made up of fat. 40% of our brain is made up of fat. It's lipid. So the fat which we eat affects the fat of our brain. So if we eat the wrong kind of fat, it causes the cells of the brain lose its elasticity, lose its plasticity, and therefore the exchange of good substances means the good substances don't enter in, and the bad substances stay inside the brain cells and damage it. Then it also causes release of cortisol, all the different oils. So what do you use? And you need some fat to feel satiated, to so that you don't get often hungry. So always include good fats in your diet and your meal, like the hummus instead of or tahini, the sesame seeds, or avocado on your toast instead of butter or mayonnaise or all the other harmful fats. Then I bake my samosas instead of frying them. There's a good recipe on the website. You can explore a lot of healthy recipes, baked recipes on the website. Then the different butters, like if you want to apply something, or if you want to make your dough also for your samosas, you can use any of these butters, like peanut butter, sesame butter, coconut butter. Like you churn the desiccated coconut into a creamy consistency and it becomes like ghee, which is a vegan ghee. Then I used to like my okra, but I used to feel how will I have, because it needs a lot of oil to make it. But now when I realized, like when I went to the Sharan website and I realized that there's a very healthy recipe for okra, it's more delicious than the oily okra. Then French fries can be steamed of like steamed and then baked, and then you can enjoy those. Now, milk and milk products are also something which increases the depression or mental health problems in our body, in our minds. Because just like, when you give birth to a baby and the baby is snatched away from you, you will go through some kind of stress hormones in the body. Just like that, the cow also goes through those stress hormones when the calf is snatched away, when it gives birth to the calf. Now, those stress hormones go into the secretions of the cow, that's the milk. And when we have that milk, the adrenaline comes in the picture, the stress hormone, which when we are stressed, we produce adrenaline. So obviously when animals are stressed, they will also produce adrenaline. So when it comes into our system, it causes an adrenaline imbalance. So either there is anxiety or depression. There is a protein known as casein in milk. Now this protein causes it's very difficult to digest, like paneer, cheese, and all of that heavy milk products which we have, because of this casein protein. So when there is difficulty in digestion, the gut inflames, it gets irritated, and therefore the good bacteria go down and bad bacteria increase. Then even because of milk or the casein, the absorption of certain proteins doesn't happen in the body, and these proteins are very essential when it comes to the proper brain functioning, because it helps in the formation of brain antioxidants. Now, the lactose in milk also affects the tryptophan metabolism and doesn't let the formation of serotonin. Milk also has something known as folate and B12. Milk doesn't let the folate and B12 get absorbed in the system, and therefore we have deficiency of folate and B12 when we are on milk products. And these two are essential vitamins or minerals when it comes to brain health. There is something known as casomorphine in milk. It is like a morphine like some substance. It causes addiction. Now, the casomorphine the cow produces so that the calf remains addicted to the cow's milk for the long period of time, and it also helps in the neural development of the calf. But when we have that, we get addicted towards cow milk and we get neurosis, psychosis, and other problems. Milk also blocks the block the endorphins by producing exorphins. When it blocks the endorphins, the feel good hormones it blocks. Now, when we have milk and milk products, the tryptophan doesn't enter in the brain to form serotonin, and therefore it affects the formation of all the neurotransmitters. So what to do then? Because we want that milk. Like milk is not necessary for us, but we want to have that glass of milk, or we want to substitute all the dairy things with with something at least. So for coconut milk or rice milk or cashew milk or almond milk or soya milk. Like my husband used to be a lover of Mexican food. Now, how will I make Mexican food without the nacho sauce? And I realized that there is a wonderful recipe for this. It's a healthy, gluten-free, cashew-free, nut-free mayo recipe, or the nacho sauce recipe, and he really enjoys it. It's just amazing, and it can beat the normal dairy nacho recipe. The curds, he was a fan of curds, so I had to transform him. So I had to find a recipe which is the peanut curd, the soy curd, the cashew curd. There's innumerable options if you look around. Then, as I said, the coconut ghee. Now if you just churn the desiccated coconut, it'd be a ghee like consistency, and you can use it on your rotis. It'll make soft rotis. Even kulfis can be made. different varieties of cheese can be made. You can have a cheese board, like healthy or sometimes even nut free cheese can be made. Tofu instead of paneer tikka masala or paneer, what spinach paneer, you can have tofu, and there's a very good recipe to make the tofu very soft. You have to explore the website for that. Now, I was always a big fan of milk. I was a vegetarian, but milk was an important part in my life. Like when just before I turned into this lifestyle, I would have 3 to 4 glasses of big, tall glasses of milk, and elaichi milk, yeah, to be precise. And my mother would give me, as a child, my mother would give me as a meal replacer. If I would not have a meal, she would be like, okay, have this, and she would be like, okay, my child has had the right nutrition. But she would tell me that you're a strong girl, good girl, because you're having this whole glass of milk. And I used to believe in that. That kind of conditioning developed in me. But when I gave up milk, I realized that I was putting in someone's grief, someone's sadness, someone's pain. And that is why it's coming out in the form of depression, in the form of sadness, in the form of those suicidal thoughts, the hatred, the fears, all of that. So there was a big factor of compassion which generated inside me. Then all the animal products, like even they have stress hormone, because just like we get scared and produce stress hormones in our body, like if you are standing and someone from behind comes to shoot you, you will have your fright and the flight system activated. There will be stress hormones in the body, the adrenaline. When the animals are slaughtered, they are not even attacked suddenly. They see their brothers, their sisters getting killed, they see their suffering. Imagine the amount of fear, the amount of pain they go through it when their turn is coming. And how much ever you cook that animal product, different ways of cooking you use it, those adrenaline or those stress hormones will never get out of that food. And it also has something known as arachidonic acid, L-carnitine. Now, foods like eggs, chicken have high amount of arachidonic acid, and it is seen that vegetarians have low chances of depression as compared to non-vegetarians. And arachidonic acid is something which is also very inflammatory. In fact, the animal products have a lot of certain compounds which cause addiction, inosanic acid, and certain other names which are very addictive, and therefore it's very difficult to be away from them. Then again, like milk and milk products, it doesn't let the tryptophan enter in the brain and form the serotonin, and therefore the feel good factor is lost when you have all these kind of foods. So instead of your normal omelette, you can opt for a chickpea omelette or a tofu omelette. Then I'm not a vegetarian, non-vegetarian. I was not a non-vegetarian, but a lot of friends of mine who are non-vegetarian, they used to have these mock meats. To transition from a non-veg to a plant-based person, you could opt for these store-bought mock meats, but it has a lot of other substances which you don't want to have and which you don't want to put inside your body. So opt for natural substitutes for meat like soya, tofu, jackfruit. This is a jackfruit sabzi which someone has made. Instead of having fish, you can actually make some kind of tofu fish. So there are a lot of alternatives if you just look around. Another thing which can cause biological dysregulation is caffeine. Now, caffeine is a number one mind altering drug. It is present in tea, coffee, and a lot of other foods, a lot of other drinks. Now, I used to be a caffeine addict. I would have a lot of tea and coffee, 3 to 4 cups of tea and coffee. But I realized that the caffeine, the plant produces caffeine as a defense mechanism against, it's like an insecticide or pesticides against the bug. So it is actually harmful. It harms the bug which is growing in that plant. So it is obviously it is obviously having some kind of harmful effect on our body. But since we have in very small amount, that harmful effect is not immediately seen. It will be seen gradually when it builds up in the body. Now, caffeine actually causes release of adrenaline. When you get up in the morning, what do you feel? I want to know from you in the chat box. Like, do you feel that you need a kick You need that coffee. Now, coffee actually helps you give that kick, or it just relieves the withdrawal symptoms of the previous day coffee. In the chat box, please. Green tea has caffeine, yes, it's right. But let me tell you that caffeine only gives you, it relieves the withdrawal symptoms of coffee, which you had in the previous day. So it is just, it's not giving you that boost, it's not giving you that kick. Then caffeine also causes release of dopamine. Now, as I said, dopamine, when it artificially rises in the body, the body stops producing it, and therefore you will keep relying on these foods or these stimulants for your caffeine, for your feel good, for your dopamine. It interferes with the sleep, and a lot of sleep disorders are related to mood disorders. You will always see a connection between it, which we'll talk about it later. Then caffeine also causes release of GABA. Now, GABA is something which affects your self-esteem. It makes you irritable, jittery, nervous, and restless. Now, caffeine, as someone said, it's not in green. See, green tea has little amount of caffeine, but it does have some amount. Like it has caffeine. It's not caffeine free. Even decaffeinated coffee has some amount of caffeine. So if you want to transition, you can opt for it, but it'll not help you in proper transition because there is some stimulant still going inside your body. You will not be able to completely leave it. Even chocolates have caffeine. Now this is alcohol, and everybody has must have resorted to alcohol some point in your life. Yes or no? When you're depressed, low, have you ever had that glass of wine or alcohol? Yes, you, I mean, everybody has done that. I was like, whenever I would feel low and depressed, I would go to this friend of mine and tell her, let's go for a drink. And I would drink and drink and drink, and it would bring the happy self out of me. I would tell her that, alcohol is making me feel, bringing that happy self out of me. But alcohol doesn't elevate your mood. It is a depressant. It depresses the central nervous system. It actually puts a break to all the feel good chemicals, and it accelerates the release of all the sedative chemicals. Alcohol therefore interferes with the sleep. Now, when you have alcohol, you feel that you will sleep well. So sometimes people have alcohol so they get sound sleep. But what happens is when they have that alcohol, the body takes a lot of energy to digest that alcohol, and no energy is left for the brain functioning and the different body functioning, and therefore it interferes with your sleep. It doesn't restore your different organs and different functions. It doesn't rejuvenate your system, and we need sleep for that. Or alcohol also is something like simple carb or simple sugar, so it will not cause a steady supply of energy to the brain, and therefore there will be increase in cortisol. Alcohol irritates the gut, inflames the gut, and therefore there is inflammation and leaky gut. Now smoking, now everybody depressed will go for a smoke. Now smokers have high chances of depression, but smoking, the nicotine in cigarettes causes increase in dopamine artificially. And it also, the nicotine also causes constriction of our blood vessels. Therefore there is no proper or decreased blood supply to the brain, to the different organs of the body, especially the brain, so the nutrition to the brain doesn't reach. So opt for green smoothies. It's like a stimulant replacer for your tea, coffee, junk food, alcohol, smoking, because it has bananas in it, which calms you down, and the raw greens which you put in your green smoothie. It has certain compounds, certain chemicals which help you stay away from the sugar, stay away from that caffeine, stay away from. It means it combats the craving. Or you can have for herbal tea. So I always have this herbal tea with me whenever I want to use my brain a lot, because it makes me feel that it firstly hydrates me, it keeps me away from all the stimulants, and it has those nutrients like cinnamon water, mint water. It kind of is a slow nutrition which you're keeping on giving your body along with hydration. Or you can exercise or meditate or talk to a friend when you're craving that cigarette, or want to have that coffee, or want to have that piece of cake. Opt for any hobby or interest of your choice, because it will channelize your energy in a better way. Or just go for a run or gym, workout in a gym. All these are quick fixes. Trust me, they are also quick fixes without any side effects to your body. Now, this person is spraying a lot of chemicals on the food. Healthy food is not healthy if it's not organic, because all these chemicals, the pesticides, herbicide, are designed to kill. It destroys the cells in our body too, just as it destroys the pest, the insect, the bug. It destroys our cells also. And it is a chemical because of which the oxidative stress in the body increases. Then all of this, like, we should have organic food and 100% organic and all, and we should not even have GMO food, because GMO food is something which is genetically modified. And when it is modified to an extent that the body fails to understand that it's food, and therefore it will not even digest that food. Now, when I went plant based, I used to read a lot of labels. Always read the food labels. When I go for my shopping, I would always, like, people would watch why am I every product I'm picking up and then reading the labels, and I would wonder that why there are so many numbers, so many different ingredients which I can't even pronounce, and I can't find all those numbers or all those ingredients in my kitchen when I have to cook something, or when I have to make that same product in my kitchen. Then I realized, I studied about it. They are basically chemicals. Now, these chemicals are hormone disruptors. Even the pesticides, herbicides, whatever they spray on the food, all are hormone disruptors. And when your hormones get disrupted, your mood also gets affected. Mood disorders and hormonal disorders are intertwined. It affects, one affects the other. Like, if you have a thyroid problem, you have that depression or low mood issue. Or when you have PCOD, you have anger, irritability. So there is a component of mood and in your hormonal issues also. So, and even the chemicals which come in the form of different drugs that we take diabetes medicine, blood pressure medicines, statins, then acidity medicines, painkillers, this and that. They are nothing but chemicals. The word chemotherapy is also chemicals, and these chemicals increase the oxidative stress of the brain. It disrupts the hormones. It is very difficult for the gut bacteria. I mean, it inflames the gut. It makes the gut leaky. The bad bacteria grow. When you have an antibiotic, why? The bad bacteria is lost, and therefore you have to have a probiotic after an antibiotic treatment. So basically, it alters your mood, and it affects the way you feel. When you keep having these drugs, it really affects the way you feel. And now you will wonder that, you have heard that for mental health, certain vitamins are necessary. Now, apart from vitamin B12 and vitamin D, which I will talk about, there is nothing which a whole food, plant based, organic diet will not give you. So you only need the B12 and D3, which even a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian will have a deficiency. Now, vitamin B12 is a water soluble vitamin. It's a number one vitamin when it comes to depression. Means if you feel low, you should first check your B12, because B12 is not just necessary for your red blood cells, formation of your red blood cells, but also for the functioning of the central nervous system. And the first symptom of B12 deficiency is depression. Now, when you go and check your B12, there is something known as homocysteine, which they check. Now, this homocysteine, when it increases, it affects the formation of serotonin in the body. And therefore, this depression and B12 are related. Now, B12 you don't get proper B12 because you live in a super sanitized world. Also, if you have B12, there is absorption issues in the gut, because you're having your diabetes medicine which alters or affects your absorption of B12, or your acidity medicines affect the absorption of B12, or your milk and milk products don't let the B12 absorb in your gut. And even with old age, there is a difficulty in absorption of B12. So that is why supplementing, checking first the levels of your B12 and supplementing it is very essential. Now, vitamin D is a sunshine vitamin. It's a natural antidepressant. Now, vitamin D has receptors in the brain, where it's very close to those receptors which are linked to depression. So there is a connection. Can you see that? Now, there is something known as seasonal affective disorder. It is a mood disorder with a lot of depressed symptoms. Now, this kind of a disorder is seen in areas of the world where there is lack of sunlight. And it's seen that, like, studies are seen showing that the people who have low level of D or don't get a lot of sunlight in those areas, have low level of vitamin D, and have a depressed mood. So there is a connection. So I would suggest a whole food plant-based diet, checking and supplementing your B12 and D3 for your mental health, because this is what helped me and has helped a lot of people. But there are still a lot of statistics. If you want, if you are a scientific person, there are some statistics which are seen that how a plant-based diet affects your mental health. Like the Physicians Committee of Responsible Medicine did a survey. They studied their own employees for 18 weeks. They had diabetes, blood pressure, thyroid, and they were given a whole food plant-based diet. After 18 weeks, they reversed their diabetes, blood pressure, and thyroid and other health issues, but even their mood improved. The anxiety got better, depression got better, their ability to work or perform at work also improved. There is one more study which shows that frequent consumption of vegetable predicts the lower risk of depression, because fruits and vegetables have certain substances which prevent the breakdown of serotonin or the feel good chemicals. And therefore, when you have more fruits and vegetables, the serotonin is always high in the body, you'll never feel low. Along with all this, it's wonderful and it's important to exercise. Any form of exercise you like of your choice. I benefited a lot, and I still, whenever I feel low, I go out for a walk and it just rejuvenates me. Because when you exercise, there's an increase in the blood circulation to all the parts of the body, including your brain. When you exercise for 45 minutes 3 times a week, it is seen that any kind of aerobic exercise for 45 minutes for 3 times a week decreases, I mean, increases the size of hippocampus. The hippocampus, which is a part of the brain which shrinks because of stress hormones, come back to its original size because of exercise. So can you believe the power of exercise? And the power of diet you have understood, but power of exercise is also important, because when you exercise, you lose that fat, you lose that weight, you feel confident. And the fat is an active endocrinal gland. It causes the release of those hormones which affect your mood. So it always run under the sun. So you get the sun, you get the exercise benefits. Now, who doesn't like to sleep? I love sleeping, and sleep is a natural antidepressant. But what happens is that, you know, we when we our kids, if we didn't sleep well, we would end up becoming groggy, irritable, and cranky. As adults also, this irritableness or mood disorder comes when we don't sleep. Like lack of sleep affects our mood. Like you must have seen, if you have not slept it happens with me when I have not slept properly. Next day, I will resort to all the wrong foods. I will have frequent eating. Like frequently, I would go to the kitchen to eat something, and I will, in general, not feel happy because the circadian rhythm is affected. And it's not just one factor. It's not just only food. Your diet, your exercise, your sleep, everything matters when it comes to your health. Yes, food is something which is easily playable with, but all these factors, if not looked into, will not help you come out of your depression. So always think of when you see that packet of chips or the packet of cookies, always think, is that the fuel your brain is wanting or craving for? Now, even Deepika Padukone, a lot of people, a lot of celebrities, a lot of successful people have depression or had depression. And Deepika Padukone started an NGO also, Live, Love, Life, or Live, Life, Love. And it's all these mental health problems are pervasive. They get into your system, it creeps inside your system, and it grows. It's like a cancer. To me, it was like a cancer. I used to always compare my mental health, my depression, with cancer, because I would feel it's growing inside me, it's paining me, it's troubling me. And it's same, it's, just because I don't have symptoms which a cancer patient has it, and therefore no one cares for me, no one is thinking about me, or no one is helping me, or I'm also helpless about it. But it is as good as cancer. Just because it's not seen, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be ashamed, don't be embarrassed. I took a lot of time to talk about my mental health, even after I recovered. To come up on the stage and talk about how I reversed it was a big challenge for me. But trust me, if you speak out, you are, the depression doesn't define you. If you speak out, there are a lot of people to help you out. We are there to help you out. You're not alone in this journey. And at the end, I would lastly want to say that, you know, there is a lot of like I have told you a lot of things for your depression, but it doesn't mean that you give up on your psychiatry visits, or you give up on the counseling sessions, you give up on those medicines and just do this. Do this in addition to what you're already doing. It needs some kind of hand holding to taper those medicines. It needs some kind of help. Just by this talk, you can only change your the way, change all these parameters, change all this lifestyle. And at the end, I would wish that only by changing all these things which we discussed today, you can reach your health goal, your highest ability, the highest mental functioning. And that's all I wish for you. I'm really like wanting to say that there was a lot of data to download to get into your system, to seek into your system. It might be overwhelming right now, but if anytime you have a problem, we are there to back you up. So never be afraid to move on this path. Thank you for patiently listening to me.